Coming up on Business Life, wondering how much banks offer the lowest interest rates on loans to households, SME and corporate. We shall be sharing with you the latest Bank of Ghana annualized percentage rates, plus get to hear from a banking consultant on why some banks offer high interest rates in Ghana. Also in this bulletin, Ghana Revenue Authority challenges claims E-vat is failing to mobilize required taxes for the state. We shall be interrogating this claim with a tax consultant. All is set for the 3i Africa Summit, a groundbreaking event expected to unleash the continent's fintech and digital economic potential.
Hoping that what we're doing is sending a signal to the broader community, not just in Ghana, by the way, but across the continent. And there are other central banks who are participating to have the same discussion because, in fact, the challenges are similar across the continent.
We will get to hear from the Director, Fintech and Innovation Office at the Bank of Ghana on what to expect. We have details of these and many more for you. Please stay. Thanks so much for your time. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Now, the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afare, is entreating commercial banks to ensure that applications for trade-based forex transfer have the needed documentation. According to him, the Bank of Ghana has identified some gaps within their compliance regime and called on stakeholders to come together to streamline the process to enhance efficiency. He was speaking at an engagement by the Ghana Association of Banks and the Bank of Ghana.
The financial sector engagement sought to resolve issues on trade-based forex transfer and documentation needed for advance payments. At the meeting, stakeholders called for the review of the documentation guidelines and an upward adjustment of the advance payment threshold for businesses. First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afare, entreated commercial banks to ensure that businesses provide the appropriate documentation needed to facilitate advance payments.
With regards to the international trade and foreign exchange transfers, it is extremely important that said transactions are adequately backed by the requisite underlying documentations to ensure proper accounting. Supported by the relevant documentations, importers can execute transfers for trade through different payment options available under trade finance, including advance payments. Among others, the documentation process ensures proper tax accounting, curbs capital flight, and prevents illicit flows, thereby supporting a healthy AML-CFT regime. Banks, therefore, have huge responsibilities to ensure that applications for funds transfers are adequately supported by relevant documentations covering the transactions.
Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Ewa, called for a review of the advance payment threshold on businesses, adding that the review would create a favorable environment for the business community.
If you are a business, that you can make a transfer of 50,000 without initial documentation, but you need to remedy the documentation by submitting the import documents when the goods are cleared within 90 days, and the limit is 50,000. This 50,000 threshold was introduced 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 50,000 is not the same as 10 years after $50,000 now. So what we are asking for now is that the business environment 10 years ago was very different. Those businesses that the 10 years ago was okay with at the time, they have scaled up. And therefore, the threshold does not address the concerns of the business community because the limit is still stuck in a 10-year, which is a decade-old limit.
President of the association, Kofi Adamako, also underscored the need to protect businesses to prevent a further damage to the economy should businesses begin to exit.
These small, medium enterprises constitute a very large sector of our economy. They contribute in many ways to our GDP, significantly. So it's important that we fuel the trade machinery in such a manner that they remain efficient and they can continue to carry out their businesses. Otherwise, they will find alternatives. And we know some of them are already finding alternatives. And the alternatives will put pressure on the banks, will put pressure on the CD, will put pressure on everybody. And And in the long run, it's not in the interest of the economy. That's why today you're seeing the governor here, you're seeing representatives from GRA here, you're seeing MDs of all the banks here, you're seeing all the stakeholders come together. We all realize that this is a problem.
Stakeholders were encouraged to collaborate and find solutions to challenges in the sector.
It's building momentum, and only a few days away, it's the 3i Africa Summit, a groundbreaking global event centered on transforming Africa's economic landscape through sustainable long-term capital allocation that seeks to unlock Africa's digital and financial potential. Convened by the Bank of Ghana, the Development Bank Ghana, in collaboration with E-vat, this summit is bringing together heads of state, key finance sector players, and industry experts from across the globe. Now, Kwame Opong is Director, FinTech and Innovation Center at the Bank of Ghana and has been speaking to Joy Business ahead of the event slated for 13th to 15th of May.
3i Africa Summit is a conference that really looks at achieving a few things. One, policy dialogue that helps move the bar and help move the needle on the friction between regulation, as you mentioned, and the opportunities that the African innovators and the financial sector more broadly is looking to take advantage of. And so trying to have that open conversation between the policymakers and regulators, as well as investors who come together with service providers to really understand how to make progress on these issues. We're hoping that what we're doing is sending a signal to the broader community, not just in Ghana, by the way, but across the continent. And there are other central banks who are participating to have the same discussion because, in fact, the challenges are similar across the continent. So that's one, the policy indication and signaling. The second aspect has to do with actual concrete policy steps, which is something that we're going to be discussing here amongst even the Committee of Governors to really see how we can address certain things. I mean, if you look at cross-border payments, for instance, we're promoting AFTA, and it's going to have a significant impact on us long-term and really help with integrating us as a continent economically. But for every product or good or service that moves in one direction, we have to expect there's payment coming in the other direction. But on the other hand, there are implications to some of these things. How do we address them? So this is the kind of discussion we expect to have that leads to concrete policy outcomes. Now, beyond the policy as well is actual industry impact as well. One of them is that, among the over 200 investors that we've invited, there's actually going to be a deal room to allow, and a pitch fest that allows innovators on the continent engage these investors to be able to present their solutions, to be able to discuss the potential for investment in their business. And many of them are actually coming from other countries, not just Ghana, but we're happy to have created a forum for this type of engagement to occur. And hopefully you're going to find young at heart innovators on the continent and even established businesses be able to attract investment to scale whatever innovation they have and ultimately impact everyone else.
Now to our very first story we've lined up for you tonight. Are you wondering which bank offers the lowest interest rates on loans to households, SMEs, and of course corporate? Well, my colleague George Duafe joins me in studio to help us understand all of these. And George, thanks so much for joining me once again and good to see you. Now, first off, when you talk about the Bank of Ghana annualized percentage rate, what are we talking about first off?
So basically, this is something that the Bank of Ghana has put together. Often, we complain about the fact that when you get a loan from a commercial bank, before you should get the actual loan, you're paid more. So the Bank of Ghana has actually put together this report that actually put together all the hidden charges that you would get in a facility, in a tabular form, put out. So when it comes to when you go for a loan, maybe over a year, over 3 years, over 5 years, how much would that cost you as the borrower? And call it or break it down in simple terms. This is the actual cost of that loan that you're taking from the commercial bank. And it has moved from just being an annual rate. Now, the Bank of Ghana is breaking this thing down to every month and every quarter to tell you that, listen, maybe the bank believes that if they go ahead and do this always, it could force the commercial banks to drive down the rate. So if you see that maybe a pious bank has advertised that they are charging maybe 20%, that is not the actual cost of that loan that you'll be paying. So This is what this analyzed rate is giving consumers, the actual rate that you'll be paying on that loan.
All right, so walk us through the dynamics of what we are learning.
So let's first start with households. That is, if these are normal individuals, consumers, and all those things. Now, let's look at the top 3 banks here. If you talk about if you're taking or you took a facility in March over a year, Standard Chartered Bank is offering you the lowest interest. Now, you'll be paying 29.07% as the actual rate you'll be paying for a facility over a year. It is followed by Ghana Commercial Bank offering you 29.80%, and then Standard Chartered, that is Societe Generale, offering you 31.06%. Now, this is a facility over a year.
Okay.
Now, let's look at the facility over 3 years as well when it comes to these households as well. Now, this is a loan over 3 years. Standard Chartered Bank, again, is offering 25.83% for a facility that you took in March over 3 years, followed by Fidelity Bank Ghana, offering you 28.22%,
yeah,
becoming the second as well. And then GCB is the third bank. So the Bank of Ghana has put together this document telling us that this is the actual cost, an average you'll be paying.
Okay.
And it means that you could get this best rate being offered by the bank. Also, if you are maybe somebody who is credit worthy, you end up getting this rate. But always you want to go for the first. So some will say that Standard Chartered Bank Ghana is offering the best rate when it comes to a loan over 2 years that was secured in March. Let's also go ahead of and look at
the SME.
We'll be doing the SME as well. Okay. So let's look at the one for 1 year. And it's been a big challenge for a lot of small businesses out there. I mean, the cost of credit and all those things. Now, ABSA, if the facility was closed in March, over a year, you are paying an average rate of 19.15% coming from ABSA Bank Ghana. Now, if you go,
Is it to SMEs? Because
now, these are the rates that are given to SMEs, loans.
Exactly.
And the caveat is that these are facilities that were closed in March this year.
All right.
And this is the average, the real cost that you're paying. If everything is cool about you and you worked out everything, this is what you'll be doing. It's followed by Omni Basic Bank offering 33.06%, and then Cal Bank. But every day you want to celebrate the best.
Yeah.
And so it looks like for here we can say that ABSA Bank offered the lowest or the best rate if you have a clean credit score and all those things. This is what you'll be getting as well. So let's go ahead and look at for 3 years as well, right, for the SMEs as well. Again, ABSA Bank Ghana is offering you 25.30, Omni Basic 33.06, and then Zenith Bank Ghana is offering you 35.30. Again, let's celebrate the best year in terms of the average, the lowest. If you have a clean credit score, this is what ABSA Bank will be offering to you if you are an SME. And so let's talk about the businesses as well.
Yeah, the corporates. Yeah.
Something in for the businesses as well.
Yeah.
Let's look at the bank that is offering for a year. Standard Chartered Bank, if you are a business, is offering you 32.71%, followed by Omni Basic and then Zenith. And the caveat is here that all the banks, the Bank of Ghana has given us all the way for all these banks, but we want to celebrate the top 3 or even the best or the lowest if you have a clean credit score. And Standard Chartered Bank here is offering the best for corporates when it comes to facility over a year. Pius.
All right, thank you very much, George, for breaking it down for us. And I wanted to speak to Dr. Metua Hene, I beg your pardon, Nana Otui Champong, I'm told, has joined us via Zoom for some discussion on the back of this. Thanks so much, Nana Otui Champong. Good to see you. Now, what's wrong when we talk about some banks that are offering interest rates as low as 22% and for households and SMEs and corporate institutions, and we are seeing some interest rates as high as 40%? Why so?
As the statistic says, it's an average, and therefore there are lows and there are highs. And these statistics are collected by the Financial Stability Department of the Bank of Ghana, and they do a very good job at that. However, depends on how the information is provided. For instance, a bank may have a range from one with a good credit score as George underscored, and somebody with an average credit score or a worst case scenario credit score. So sometimes these statistics have to be explained together with the credit standing of the borrower. The better your credit standing, the lower the interest rate that you pay. And the higher or the worse your credit standing, the higher the interest rate that you pay. So that range happens. But then I think one has to always ask, and I think in the past when they used to produce this, what we wanted to do was to test that in actual fact, if one bank is lending at 40% and another at 22%, let's make an application to the one at 22% and see how many people will obtain that sort of thing. That is not to underrate the importance of these figures. They are very important. And as they said when they put it out, it helps competition within the industry. So for a long time, they took a break. This is the second since they came back. So let's study the trend over a period, and you'll probably get a better picture than what you are getting now.
And I want you to talk to me about the ramifications for banks that offer relatively cheaper rates like Standard Chartered Bank to their customers, looking at the attractive rate they have.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to this average issue. How many of their customers get that sort of low rate interest rate, and how many of them get the high rate? It all depends on the credit score. So is this signaling to us that probably that bank has people or borrowers with good credit score where they pay their interest, their loans on time, they don't default, and so therefore they are able to lend to them at a lower rate. That is the premium that they add to the Ghana reference rate is what we are talking about here, because the average lending rate is given by the Association of Banks, where at the beginning of every month they will code the rate that is to be used by the banks. So if they are lending below that rate or they are lending above that rate, it depends on the premium that they are putting on the borrowers. So Standard Chartered probably has people with a very good credit history, and therefore they lend to them at a lower rate.
All right, quickly, for businesses who want to grow and expand, what will be your advice to them, looking at the rates we have now?
Well, it will mean try and get a good track record, because your good track record will help you in the future when it comes to borrowing. When you borrowed in the past, have you kept up with your repayment? And when this credit scoring also may take other things into account. For instance, when electricity bill used to be all postpaid rather than prepaid now, that was a factor that was taken into account, that when you get your bills, are you paying them on time, or do you get your bills, your meter cut off before you pay, and so on. So I think for businesses that want to borrow at the lowest interest rate, the advice to them is to try and keep a good credit score, a good credit history, where your past will help you in the future. If you don't, then your past will always follow you, and you'll be paying the highest interest rate that there is.
All right. Thank you very much, Nana Otu Echampong. We are indeed grateful speaking to us here on Business Live. He is a banking consultant. Now, let's touch on one of our headline stories. The Ghana Revenue Authority is challenging reports that the E-vat initiative is failing to mobilize the required taxes for the state. The authority in statement highlights significant progress that has been made since the project was implemented on the pilot basis and the number of businesses that have been brought on board. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority explained that it is confident about the positive impact that the E-vat will have on VAT contributions, and takes the opportunity to assure stakeholders about the rapid implementation of the E-vat system. Let's have a discussion on this. Joining us via Zoom as well is tax consultant Francis Timoboy to help us understand all of these. Thanks so much, Francis. And what's your independent assessment of the E-vat initiative so far? hopeful?
Yes, Pius is very hopeful. The only challenge is that we've not been fully, or we have not been able to roll out the policy fully. If you look at the dictates of the law, which was passed in September 2022, every company was given up to 1 year, which means that September 2023, every company is supposed to go under the E-vat system. And if you're unable to meet the September 2023, then you can apply to the Commissioner General for extension of 3 months. So clearly, if you look at what the GRA put out there, that the E-vat brought in close to 32% of the VAT, then if we have been able to roll it out, you can imagine the revenue that would have been able to, mobilize from the E-vat system. So I think that is very hopeful, and it is the way to go. Almost every country is now automating the way VAT is collected, and I think that if we're able to do that fully, the current compliance rate of 20% can really be enhanced, and then we'll make a lot of money from VAT.
And we've got to, enhance revenue mobilization. But so far, have you identified any loophole or loose ends that needs to be tightened to prevent leakages?
Yes, Pius, I think the implementation date is quite short, and trust me, Ghana is not like these advanced countries where technology is adopted. And so technological barriers is one of the challenges that we are having now. Even Israel, I was just reading a news article about 4 days ago where Israel is also implementing one, and they gave themselves 4 years. They start 5th of May 2024, and they expect that by 2028 they should be able to fully roll out the VAT, the E-vat system. So I think that we are not too advanced in terms of technology, so possibly we just have to go slowly. Again, integrating the accounting system of most companies to the GRA system. Remember, this is a real-time thing. And so the integration is not as easy as people may see it. And so hopefully if the GR is able to go with this phased approach and be able to deal with the technological aspect, companies who don't have money to adopt the technology can maybe go online to do it. But how reliable is that? And what about the people or businesses who are not even in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi? How do we also bring them on board? We're able to resolve this, and I believe that it will bring some money to the coffers of Ghana.
Thank you so much, Francis Timoboy. We are indeed grateful speaking to us on Business Live on the back of the statements issued by the Ghana Revenue Authority. Francis, thanks so much. Now, to some other stories, the Institute of Economic Affairs has praised the Bank of Ghana for its role in enhancing the country's economic indicators. Dr. John Kwache, Director of Research at the IEA, pointed out that the marginal economic growth, stabilization of the cedi, and the decline in inflation suggest a positive outlook for the economy in the medium to long term. He made the comments during an engagement with the media.
In terms of the macroeconomic indicators, so far I think most of them seem to be going well. In fact, inflation, for instance, has declined a lot more than they expected. Growth also, they didn't target a very ambitious growth, and I was disappointed, But if you set on ambitious targets and you are achieving them and you are happy, so the growth rates are also, I think, being achieved. In terms of depreciation of the currency, well, at least it's stabilized somehow, but at what cost? The thing is, at what cost has it stabilized? Because Bank of Ghana seems to be supporting the cedi. So they will also be looking at your reserves, because they don't want you to deplete your reserves in order to defend the cedi. So the IMF, normally, they are not so much concerned about the stability of the currency. They are rather looking at your reserves. Because sometimes they will come out to say that even your cedi is not depreciated enough because they are measuring it in, real terms and so on. Except the external debt restructuring part, okay? And that is supposed to also help with the financing of the program. So if that is not forthcoming, it's going to affect the financing of the program, because you cannot, then where are you going to get the funding from? you cannot get it all from domestic sources. Even right now, the government has started borrowing on the domestic market because some of the funding, external funding, have stalled because of the ongoing negotiations. So to me, that area is probably the most problematic area.
That's it for the bulletin. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Omnibusik offers lowest interest rates on loans to SMEs over a period of 5 years. That's according to the Bank of Ghana. And my colleague Joy Biafe was in studio to break it all down for us. Also on that portal, CD to stabilize against dollar, other foreign currencies. That's according to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Shorin. We've got more stories on the portal. Do visit there and get yourselves updated. I am Pius Kojo Baka. See you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.